Welcome to Viking Spotlight. This is a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District, and I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf. Today, we're talking with Coach Ryan Shaffer, our Hoover tennis coach and recent inductee into the Hoover Athletic Hall of Fame. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great. Well, before we talk about tennis success and all the things that you've seen in your career as a tennis coach here at Hoover and other places, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and catch us up on Coach Ryan Shaffer.
Well, I was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and we lived in Johnstown, or Somerset County, actually, until I was 4 years old. My dad grew up on a farm during the Depression with 11 brothers and sisters. They were poor. That's all I can say. Yeah. But he learned to work hard, and his brother was killed at Aachen, October 25th, 1945, and 1944. And when he was almost old enough, he joined the United States Army also. I don't know if that was probably part of two reasons. One, because he felt he should serve because of what happened to his brother, but also maybe it was an opportunity to get off the farm. He actually missed the fighting in World War II, served in the occupation of Japan. Then he came home, and by that time my grandfather had sold the farm, so my dad had to find a job, and he worked in the mines. And met my mother, had me in 1949, and wouldn't you know it, he thought that he was done with the military. He had signed on to be in the reserves so he could get an early out from Japan. And the North Koreans had other ideas. They invaded South Korea. And he was called back and actually landed at Incheon Harbor Christmas Day, 1950. During that time, my mom and I moved in with my grandmother, and we stayed there until he returned. And when he got back in the early winter of 1951, he again went to work in the coal mines, and probably worked for 2 years until he decided that he didn't want to be a miner the rest of his life. He heard there were opportunities in Canton, Ohio, came out here with his brother, and he got a job at the Timken Company.
Good, yeah.
Yes, and his brother went back to Somerset County, but my dad stayed. He bought a house with the GI Bill, and when he had things in place, he sent for my mother and I. And by that time, I had a little sister, too. And we moved in 1953 to Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, great. And you went to Perry High School?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yep. The house he bought was in Redurban, which is a subdivision of Perry Heights. And so I was a Panther my whole life.
Yeah.
Grew up going to school there. Played football and baseball, graduated in 1967.
Okay, great. So you've been in Stark County since your early years, and
yes.
Through Perry local schools, and then you helped do some things locally a little bit, and you participated in football and basketball and baseball there, and you became an avid tennis player after that, and your career as a tennis coach, I understand, started in 1988 at St. Thomas?
Well, as a tennis coach, I was actually a pro at Atwood Resort when it was still a booming facility in the late 70s, early 80s, and by 1988 I was at the Hall of Fame Fitness Center, and a lady, Jane Schiavone, actually saw me at one of our summer club tennis matches out at Shady Hollow, and she told me that she had a daughter that was going to be a freshman, one of three daughters, and why don't I think about coaching tennis? I guess she liked my demeanor around the kids and what we were doing with our team. And I actually laughed at her. I said that, I've never coached women before. I'm a football guy. I don't think that my old school approach would exactly be very good. But I went home and I thought about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked the idea. I thought it would make me a better communicator, a chance to coach young ladies, and it would be get my foot in the door as a coach. Ironically, then 1 year later, Malone College came after me also, so I was doing, during those years, the Aquinas girls in the fall and the Malone University men in the spring.
Okay. Yep. So you were there for a little while, and I understand you coached at Mount Union.
No, I did not coach at Mount Union. Just
All right.
just Malone.
Just in Malone. Okay.
Yes.
Now so you've coached tennis, male and female, boys and girls, and college and high school. Is there a difference between the college and the high school kids in general?
Well, I can't say there really is. I pretty much, whether you were male or female, coached you the same. And my style is what it is. I am who I am. And actually, my women really enjoy it. They like being pushed, and I think they've responded to it over the years very well.
Well, I think you said old school, but I think the word is clear expectations, right? And people in general respond very well to that. If the expectations are clear, they'll do their best to meet those expectations. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So we got you to be a Viking in 2003, I think. We came on staff here as the girls tennis coach and boys, and you've had quite a run. You tell us a little bit about your stats and so on at Hoover.
Well, I came back to coaching. I actually left Malone in '96. My oldest son, Ryan, was a state level tennis player. Nationally ranked, and he got a scholarship to West Virginia University where he played for 4 years. And after his freshman year, I gave up the Malone men so that I could go watch him play, basically.
Sure.
So I spent 3.5 years traveling around the eastern states watching him. And Joe Eaton I had known from St. Thomas Aquinas, and probably at least 15 of the kids on a Hoover tennis team I had taught either at the Racket Club or at Congress Lake Country Club, where I was the head pro at the time. So Joe reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to come to Hoover, and the opportunity, the time was right, the timing was good, and I just never looked back.
Right.
I remember the repository did an article on me at the time, and I said, my right elbow and my right shoulder, my left hip and my left knee are given out. So this may be a year at a time
transition
situation.
Year.
And here I am 20 years later.
Right.
So,
right. Well, I know there's a lot of Vikings that are glad you made the move. Absolutely. Yeah. So you've had some pretty high-level success. I think 18 Federal League championships between the boys and the girls, 4 state runner-ups in singles, 1 in doubles. This year, of course, Division I state runner-up with Tess Butcher, and Division I state runner-up with the girls team in general, and a record of 26-1 is quite commendable. And you were inducted into the Hoover Athletic Hall of Fame, and you talked about 3 principles you use in coaching. Can you review those and share those with our listeners?
Well, I believe that everything starts with one's effort. If you don't take the time to put the effort in, you'll never really be successful at anything. I think I learned that from my dad. He, as I said, moved to Canton, literally had a low-level job at the Timken Company, right above probably sweeping floors. And I watched him work 2 jobs and attend night school. He had gotten his GED in the military, and as time went on, he transitioned into the office and ended up, when he retired, as the head of the computer room at the Timken Company, which, if there was ever an example of the greatest generation, I would have to put my dad in that.
Yeah.
And he never really said that much to me, but I observed that no matter how humble your beginnings, if you were willing, had a good attitude, and you put the effort in, you could be just about anything you wanted to be.
Effort is key, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, and the second thing is your attitude. You are who you think you are, and a positive attitude in every aspect of your life, I think, can really shape you and lead you in the right direction.
Yep.
And the final thing is you have to be dedicated and willing to go along with the process. And our process, the two fundamental things with that are, well, three things really. The process is fundamentals and work ethic. We have not had the greatest tennis players in Ohio over the years, but we've had the hardest working teams and the toughest kids.
Yep.
Everybody that plays us knows that they better be ready and that they're going to have a battle. And lots of times that'll carry you pretty far.
Sure, yeah.
We've won a lot of matches maybe that we shouldn't have just because our kids were tougher.
Yeah.
And along with the work ethic is a sense of personal integrity. That's where you can pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes, but you can't when you look in the mirror, know whether you gave your best effort. And the final thing is accountability. Our kids are accountable to not only me and to their parents, to their school, but to each other. When we practice, our practices are extremely fast-moving and intense, and you are expected, regardless of who your opponent across the net is, you're expected to make them better or to raise your level up, to try to keep up with a player that's more successful or more experienced than you. Yeah. And in that way, it ends up as the year goes on, a lot of my girls find out, especially young ones, that coach, our practices are harder than a lot of our matches. And
that's the way you want it to be, right?
Well, I think that prepares them for whatever.
Sure. If you haven't seen it on the practice field or on a practice court, you're going to not know how to handle it on a game day or game event. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, in a match. Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things too that I learned from the maybe bad football coaches I worked with is they spent so time worrying about what the opponent was going to do to us that they forgot to coach us. And I kind of took John Wooden's philosophy. I try to prepare them for every eventuality, everything that might possibly happen on a court during a match, and give them, we work constantly on situations and strategies to combat whatever the other guy does. Yeah. But we worry about ourselves. We're going to play our game to the best of our ability. And if we're good enough that day, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, you can do anything if you work hard enough and you have a great attitude. And I think you alluded to it. But whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. And then that whole piece about being accountable for not only your family and who you represent, your family, your school, your coach, your teammates, and try to make those around you better. Those are three great rules for not only tennis but life. And pretty much anybody can accomplish almost anything if they adhere to those. That's for sure. Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing. This year, your 1,000th match of your tennis career is a win as the girls against Solon. I know it was up there, it was away, but you got 1,000 match win, and you're the all-time winningest coach in girls tennis in Ohio, and the second winningest coach overall in Ohio. How special was that? And tell us a little bit about your success as a coach and the wins and so on.
Well, I don't ask my girls to do anything that I don't do. I mean, I spend a tremendous amount of time trying to perfect my craft. For 23 years, I was the clinic director of the Ohio Tennis Coaches Association, and I kept that job for 23 years because, well, partly because nobody else wanted it, but the thing, here again, I turned a negative into a positive. It was a lot of hard work and a lot of time on a computer trying to get a hold of people, but I was able to bring in some of the best tennis pros and coaches and players in the country to our annual convention, and in so doing, I made friends with a lot of these people and was able to pick their brains, and basically, my mentors were some of the best coaches in the country, and I'm certainly fortunate. That was just a thing that happened, and it's worked out really well for myself and for my kids.
Sure. Well, 1,000 wins as a coach, and that opportunity to surround yourself with good people and the best of the best, and pull something from each of them. That's a pretty good skill. That's a pretty good approach in life. And if you want to be great at something, find out who's doing it best and who the best are, and get in their brain. Right.
Well, amazingly, we don't ever really stress winning. We very, very rarely talk about it. Again, it's about the kids believing in me and in their coaches and in themselves and each other. And it's about them going out and attempting to perform to the best of their ability at a high level with a great attitude and a tremendous amount of competitiveness and effort. And if I can get everybody on the team doing that on a consistent basis, then we're going to be successful.
And scores take care of themselves.
Scores
right?
take care of themselves.
And records. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic, and I know you spent a long time teaching and in the classroom, and I suppose that your kids that you've had over the years come back to say hello once in a while, and they learned a lot more from Coach Shaffer than they did about the subject you taught. That's for sure. I can tell by listening to you.
Well, I have my first players, are now in their mid to late 60s, and I'm still pretty close to a lot of those guys, and it's nice to hear from them.
Sure.
I know as the years go on, it's just nice to stay in touch, and they do. They let me know that I was appreciated, and of course, I really didn't think I was doing anything special. I love kids, and I love what I do.
Yeah. Well, and as we all look back to our scholastic days, our school days, and our college days, or whoever we have the greatest memories of, and so on, they're typically not the algebra computations, or whether or not you had the right English pronouns in the right place, and so on. And but it's how the teachers made you feel. Those are the ones that had the biggest impact on me, at least. And I know others say that a lot. And I'm sure you were one of those. I can tell because of your success and how you approach things and your philosophy of life and in tennis. But you were inducted into the Ohio Tennis Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2011, and this year again in the Athletic Hall of Fame for Hoover High School. You've won many awards across the state and even the country, and we should mention that you've been the Federal League Tennis Coach of the Year 20 times as the Federal League Coach of the Year. That's amazing. And the Stark County Coach of the Year 31 times.
There's two. That's just kind of combined. The Stark County Coaches Association gives an award, and then in 2011, the coaches got together and formed the Stark County Tennis Coaches Association. Mm-hmm. So that 31's a little misleading. That's the combined award, but it's
that's a lot.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I think anybody in any field just likes to be respected by their peers.
Well, I think it's pretty evident that that's true in your case for sure. And in 2020, you were awarded the Sportsman Ethics and Integrity Award from the Ohio High School Athletic Association, which is, that's very evident. If anybody knows you at all, they know that you have the highest levels of sportsmanship and ethics and integrity, and it's reflective in the way your teams act and compete. and not only on the court, but as humans and as students. So congratulations for that.
Well, I think that's what an educator does, and I just do things the way I was taught to do them.
Well, and you talked about your dad in the beginning and at the Hall of Fame induction, and talked about his influence on you. And your dad was not in education, but it sure sounds like he had a huge impact on you as far as education.
Well, there's no doubt. I need to mention my wife of 52 years. Joni is a terrific mother and wife and grandmother. And I certainly appreciate her support.
Absolutely. She's probably sat out at a few cold tennis matches, I suppose.
Well, truthfully, it's a little different now. She really doesn't come to the matches anymore because she doesn't know the kids,
right.
And like she did in the early years. But she certainly keeps track, and she makes sure that my priorities are straight and that I don't become too obsessive or passionate in what I do.
I tell you what,
she's the one that is.
She keeps you balanced, level.
Balanced.
Yeah, good. Well, that's congratulations on 52 years too.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yep. Well, I as the superintendent at North Canton City Schools and Hoover High School and so on, I know that the influence that you've had on our tennis program, but kids in general is just outstanding. Can't thank you enough for your influence and your leadership and your dedication to not only the sport but the kids. And just want to say thank you and look forward to many more years.
Well, if my body holds up and Joni's good with it,
yep.
At this point, I think she'd like to travel a little bit more.
Sure.
And I do. I have 8 grandchildren now, and 6 of them are here. In fact, Jack, my grandsons Jack and Sam, will be playing tomorrow night for the regional semifinals. They're both starters on the boys soccer team. So
yeah, right.
Very, very proud of them, and
right.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's fun to see them having athletic success also.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think the bloodlines are strong. That sounds like for sure. So, well, we again thank you for what you do and what your influence on kids. Congratulations to you on your just crazy level of success. And we're glad you're a Viking, and certainly you make the rest of us better by being around. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just, I'm a lucky guy. My hobbies, American history and tennis, coaching, really doesn't matter what, or teaching, were not only my vocation, but my hobbies, my passions.
Yep.
So just had a really good time with everything my entire life. And
well, you've turned your hobbies into some people's hobbies are, hit or miss, not really dedicated to. But from what I understand, well, I know tennis, but your love of history is at a high level as well. So you've got some things going on there that are just outstanding and pretty cool. So, well, thank you for being you. That's for sure.
Well,
so,
thank you.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of help.
Haven't we all? Yeah, good. Well, we thank our listeners today for joining us. This podcast is a great way for us to share information about the district and residents and families. And if you have questions about our podcast or want to suggest a topic for us to cover, please email us at Viking Spotlight at northcantonschools.org. And we also welcome your thoughts regarding the next week and future podcast. If you have any ideas, just give us a ring or let us know. Next week, we'll be talking with Mr. Gary Bodenschatz, who teaches interactive media in the Career Tech program at the Hoover High School. And we're excited he's going to join us, talk to us about that program. And in the meantime, we've got some fall sports wrapping up and getting ready to gear up on winter sports, but we got some soccer folks in the tournament still, as we just mentioned. Football's on the road for a tournament and in the championship, so we've got some other things going on, but we're excited to be Vikings, and we wish all our teams the best of luck, and the individuals as well. So thanks for listening, and go Vikings!